Alright, Subpart D specification, non-pressure tanker cars, classes .111 AW and 115 AW. 179-200, general specification applicable to non-pressure tanker cars and tanker class .111. 179-201, tanker cars built under the specification must meet the requirements of 179-200 and 179-201. 179-203. Tank built under the specification must be circular in cross-section with a formed head, the design convex outward. When specified within statute 179-2011, the tank must have at least one manway, one expansion dome manway, and as some of the external projections are prescribed herein. When the tank is divided into compartments, each compartment must be treated as a separate tank. 179-204, insulation. If insulation is applied with the tank shell expansion dome, when the used must be installed with an improved material. The entire insulation must be covered with a metal jacket of a thickness not less than 11 gauge nominal manufacturer standard gauge, flush around all around openings, and as well as the weather type. The exterior surface of the carbon steel tank and the inside surface of the carbon steel jacket must be given a protecting coating. Insulation specification requirement is shall be sufficient thickness and thermal conductance at 60 degrees Fahrenheit, not more than 225 thousandths BTUs per minute. Temperatures BTUs per hour per degree of temperature different unless otherwise provided in statute 179-201 in the exterior heaters attached to the tank. The thickness for the insulation over each of the heater element may reduce to 1/2 the required shell for the required shell. Thickness and plate. The wall thicknesses are forming with the tank shell, dome shell, and 2-to-1 ellipsoid heads must not be less than specified in statute 179-201, nor the calculated with the following formula. T equals PD over 2SE. Inside diameter inches DE equals 9/10 of a well-jointed efficiency except as 1.0 of the seamless heads. P minimum required bursting pressure and PSI gauge. S minimum tensile strength of plate material in PSI as prescribed in statute 179-207. T minimum thickness of plate and thickness after forming. B the wall thickness of forming a 3-to-1 ellipsoid head must not be less than specified in the statute 179-2011, nor the calculated of the following formula. T equals PD over 2SE times 1.83. D is the inside diameter inches. E is 9/10 of a welded joint efficiency except for 1.0 for seamless heads. Minimum required bursting pressure and PSI gauge. S minimum tensile strength of the plate material and PSI prescribed in statute 179-207. T is the minimum thickness of the plate in inches after forming. C. The wall thickness after forming the flange and dish head must be not less than specified with 179-201, nor the calculated with the following formula. T equals 5 PL over 6 SEL. 9/10 of welded joint efficiency except for the 1.0 for seamless edge. L means mains inside radius for which the head is diminished, measured by the concave side in inches. P minimum required bursting pressure and PSI gauge. S minimum tensile strength from the plate material in PSI as prescribed in statute 179-207. And T minimum thickness of the plate and inches after forming. If the plates are clad in material having tensile strength properties for the least equal to the base plate, the cladding may be considered that part of the base plate when determining the thickness of the cladding material does not have the tensile strength that the least equal to the base plate. The base plate alone must meet the thickness requirements. Form a tank constructed with longitudinal sections minimum with the bottom of the sheet and must be 60 inches measured at the arc, and in all cases the width must be sufficient to bring the entire width of the longitudinal welded joint, including welds above the bolster. For the tank built of one cylindrical section, the thickness specification for the bottom sheet must apply with the entire cylindrical section. C 179-209 for the thickness requirements for the compartment tank. Alright, 179-207 materials. The plate of material used for the fabricated the tank when used the expansion dome with the manway nozzle. The material must meet one of the following specifications, but indicated with the minimum tensile strength and elongation of the welded condition. Carbon steel plate. The maximum allowable carbon content must be 3/100% of the individual specification, allowing the carbon content greater than the amount the plates might be clad with approved materials. See aluminum alloy plate. Aluminum alloy plate must be suitable for the welding and accompanied with one of the following specifications: IBRC 171.7 for the subchapter. High alloy steel plate. High alloy steel plate must comply with one of the following specifications. Nickel plate must be comply with the following specifications. See I-171-7 for the subchapter. And magnesium monobil steel plate, magnesium molybdenum steel plate must be subtle for the fusion welding, complying with the following specification. IBRC 171-7 for the subchapter. All parts of the item construction for the contact landing must be made with the material compatible with the plate of the material, not subject to the rapid deterioration and landing of the coating in line with the suitable corrosion with the resistant material. All external projections may be contact with landing, and all casting, forge, and fabrications used with the fittings attachments to the tank and expansion dome when used for the contact with lading must be made with the materials to approved specifications. See AAR specification for the tanker carts. Appendix MM 4.05 IBR 177 for the subchapter approved for the material specification for the casting and the fittings. 179-208 head tank heads. External tank heads must be ellipsoid revolution in which the major axis must equal the diameter of the shell. Minor axle must be 1/2 the major axis. Internal compartment of the tank head may be 2 to 1 ellipsoid, 3 to 1 ellipsoid, or flange dish and thickness for the specified in statute 179-206. Flange dish heads must have the main inside radius not exceeding 10 feet, with the inside of the knuckle and radius must not be less than 3 3/4 of an inch of steel alloy, or nickel tanks are not less than 5 inches of aluminum alloy tanks. 179-209 compartment tanks. When a tank is divided into the compartments by inserting the interior heads, the interior head must be inserted with the accordance with the AR specification with the tanker cards appendix EE 7.00 IBRC 171-7 for the subchapter must comply with the requirements specified in statute 179-201-1. Voids between the compartment heads must be provided with at least one tap drain hole at their lowest point and tapped hole at the top of the tank. The top hole must be closed. The bottom of the hole must be closed with not less than 3/4 of an inch, not more than 1/2 an inch solid pipe plugs having NPT threads. When the tank is divided into the compartments construction, each of the compartment in a separate tank, these tanks shall be joined together with a cylindrical plate made of plate having thickness of not less than required with the tank shell and applied with the outside surface of the tank head flange. The cylinder shall fit the flange portion of the compartment tank head and tightly with the cylinder shall contact the head of the flange for the distance at least 2 times the plate thickness, minimum of 1 inch, whatever is greater. The cylindrical shape shall join with the end head with the flange with a full fillet weld. Distances from the head of the seam of the cylinder shall not be less than 1 1/2 inches or 3 times the plate thickness, whichever is greater. The voids created with the space between the heads of the tank joined together form a compartment tank. So provide with a tapped drain hole at least 1 point and a tapped hole at the top of the tank. The top hole shall be closed with the bottom of the hole, and it may be closed with a solid pipe of the plug not less than 3/4 inch and not more than 1 1/2 inches having NPT threads. Alright, 179-210. All joints shall be fusion welded in compliance with requirements of the AR specification tank cards, Appendix W, IBRC 171-7 for the subchapter. Welding procedures and welder fabricators shall be approved. Welding is not permitted on inductile iron, malleable iron fittings. 179-211 post-heated weld treatment, post-weld treatment. Specification 179-201. 1. Welding is complete with a post-weld heat treatment must be in compliance with the requirements of the AR specification with the tanker cars Appendix W or IBRC 171-7 of the subchapter. 179-213 mainway ring of the flange pressure relief device for the bottom of the outlet nozzle flange and without nozzle flange or other attachments of the openings. The attachment shall be fusion welded to the tank reinforced with the approved manner with the compliance with the requirements of the Appendix E for the Figure 10 of the AR specification standards of the tanker cars. The opening of the manway ring must be at least 16 inches in diameter, except for the acid resistant line. The manways must be at least 18 inches in diameter before lining. The manway ring flange shall be made with the cast and forged and fabricated metal. The metal in the dome and the tank and the nozzle must be compatible with the manway ring or flange so that they may be welded together. The openings of the manway or other fittings shall be reinforced with the approved manner. 179-214 expansion capacity. The tank shall have the expansion capacity with the prescribed with the subchapter. The capacity shall be provided with the tank of the class with the .111A and the cars in the dome of the .103 and 104 type car. For the tank having an expansion dome, the expansion capacity
is the total capacity of each of the tank of the dome combined with the capacity of the dome shape of the measure with the inside of the top of the shell and the inside top of the dome and the bottom of any of the vent prior pipe project inside the dome, except that when a pressure relief device is applied with the side of the dome, the effective capacity of the dome shall be measured from the top of the measure relieving device opening in the inside of the dome to inside of the top of the shell tank. The opening of the tank shall be within the dome shell and shall have at least 29 inches of diameter. When the opening of the tank shell exceeds 30 inches of diameter, the opening shall be reinforced in an improved manner. The additional reinforcement may be accomplished by using the dome opening on the fluid type as shown in Figure Appendix A, E. Figure E10C and of the AR specification for the tank cars by the use of the reinforcing of the outline in Appendix EE 3.024 and figures E10K and E1011, 10L. When the opening of the tank shall be less than the inside diameter of the dome pocket is not closed with if then approved the dome pocket drain shall be provided in the tank. There shall be a nipple projecting inside of the tank at least 1 inch. The dome head shall be approved with the counter and shall be designed with the pressure of a concave side. Aluminum alloy dome for the dome shell thickness shall be calculated by the formula 179-206A. The dome head may be ellipsoid with a revolution in which the major axis shall be equal to the diameter of the dome, and the shell with the minor axis shall be 1/2 of the major axis. The thickness of the case shall be determined by using the formula 179-206A. The dome must be dished to a radius not exceeding 96 inches. Thickness of the dish dome head must be calculated with the formula in 179-206C. Alright, tank shall be reinforced by additional plate equal with the greater or the shell thickness of the cross-sectional area with the shell exceed with the metal removed the dome opening. The tank shell shall be reinforced by a seamless saddle plate equal to greater than the shell thickness and butt weld. Tank shell, the reinforcing saddle plate shall be provided with the fluid open having vertical flange diameter of the dome of butt welding shall be the dome of the flange. Reinforcing saddle plate shall extend about the dome distance measured along the shell tank, at least equal to the extension of the top tank. Other approved design may be used. 179-215 closure of the manway. Manway covers must be an approved type. Manway covers shall be designed to provide a secure closure for the manway. The manway covers must be approved with the cast or forged fabricated metal malleable iron. If used, it must be complied with the ASTM A47 grade 350 18 cast iron. Manway covers must not be used. All joints made between the manway cover and their seats shall be made with the tight leakage of the vapor liquid may be manned by gaskets suitable material. For other manway cover requirements, see Statute 179-201-1. 179-216 gauging, top and loading and unloading devices, venting of the air inlet valve. When installed with the device shall be approved the design which prevents the interchange with any of the other fixtures be tight and closed. The unloading of the pipes shall be securely anchored within the tank. Each of the tank compartment may be equipped with one separate air connection. When the characteristic of the commodity of which for the authority of such that the device must be equipped with valves and fittings to permit the loading and unloading of the contents of these devices include the valves shall be improved with the design and be provided with the protective housing except when plug or ball type valves or opening of the handle with removed as used. Provisions shall be made with the closing pipe connections of the valve. The tank may be equipped with a valve vacuum relief valve with approved with the design. Protective housing is not required when using a visual gauging device on the car. The hinge manway or an outage scale visible through the manway opening shall be provided with unloading. If loading of the device are applied with the permit to take loading with the cover closed and a telltale pipe may be provided. A telltale pipe shall be capable of determining the required outages. Provided with the pipe shall be equipped with a 1/4 inch minimum MPT control valve mounted on the outside of the tank and enclosed within the housing, and the other approved devices may be used with the lieu of the outage of the scale and telltale pipe. But the bottom of the tank may be equipped with a sump with a siphon hole bowl with both welded and pressed into the shell. Such pumps and siphon bowls, if applied but not limited to the size, must be made with the cast and forged fabricated metal. Each sump and siphon bowl must be good welding quality in conjunction with the metal of the tank or shell. When the sump of the siphon bowl is pressed in the bottom of the tank, the shell and the wall thickness of the press section must not be less than that specified for the shell. The section of the circular cross-section tank to which the sump and the siphon bowl is attached needed to not comply without the roundness for the requirements specified in Appendix W14.06 of the AR specification tanker cars. Any portion of the sump siphon bowl not forming a part of the cylinder through revolution must have the walls of such thickness being reinforced with the stress in the walls caused by the given internal pressure with not greater than the circle circumferential stress, which would exist under the same internal pressure with the wall tank of the circular cross-section designed in accordance with the statute 179-206 A and D. And in no case shall the wall thickness not be less than specified in 179-201-1. When top-loading the discharge device, venting and the inlet devices are installed with exposed piping to remove the location shutoff valves must be applied directly to reinforce the pad nozzles at their communication through the tank shell and must be enclosed with protective housing with the provisions for a seal. The piping must be include a breakage groove and the suitable bracing. The relief valve must be applied with the liquid lines with protection. In case of the landing of the traps, the provisions must be made to ensure closure of the valves and while the car is in transit. Protective housing, when required, must be fabricated with improved material that have covering the sidewalls not less than 119 thousandths of an inch in thickness. 179-217 bottom outlets indicated by the statute 179-2011 tank that may be equipped with a bottom outlet. Bottom outlet is applied must comply with the following requirements. The extreme projection of the bottom outlet equipment may not be more than the allowed in Appendix E with the AR specification tanker cars. All of the bottom outlet reducers, closures, and their attachments shall be secured with a QR at least 3/8 inch in chain and or equivalent, except at the bottom of the outlet. Closure plugs may be attached with 1/4 inch chain. The bottom outlet closure is a combination for the cap at the valve type with the pipe connection with the valve shall be submitted. It shall be closed with the plug cap with approved with the quick coupling device. The bottom outlet the equipment shall be included on the valve only to the valve reducers and closure that are necessary for the attachment, unloading fixture. The permanent attachment of the supplementary exterior fittings shall be approved by the AR Committee of the tanker cars. Bottom outlet must be approved with the construction provided with the liquid tight closure for the lower end. One of the car in the center seal of the ball valve may be welded with the outside of the bottom of the tank, mounted with the pad, nozzle with the tongue, the groove of the male and female attachment. In no case shall the breakage groove with the equivalent extended below the bottom of the flange of the center seal on the car with the only continuous center seal of the ball valve may be welded to the outside bottom of the tank mounted within the tongue of the groove of the male and female flange attachment, pad attached to the outside of the bottom of the tank. The mounting of the pad must have a minimum thickness of 2.5 inches measured from the longitudinal center line of the tank. The valve operating mechanism must be provided with a suitable locking arrangement to ensure positive closure during transit. The valve opening operating mechanism for the valves applied with the interior of the tank outlet nozzle construction must ensure against the unseating of the valve due to the stress and shocks into the transportation. Bottom outlet nozzle and interior and valve body exterior. Valves must be cast fabricated with the forged metal with the weld of the tank that must be good weldable quantity in conjunction with the metal tank. To provide with the attachment, unloading connection to the discharge end of the bottom outlet nozzles and reuse of the valve of the body with the exterior valve. Some of the fixed attachment there shall be provided with one of the following arrangements or an improved modification thereof. See Appendix E with figure E17 of the AR specification for tanker cars for illustration of some of the possible arrangements. 1. The bolted flange closure arrangement, including the minimum 1-inch NPT pipe plug, were included with the auxiliary valve with the threaded closure. Threaded cap closure arrangement, including the minimum 1-inch NPT pipe thread, or including auxiliary valve with a threaded closure. 3. A quick coupling device using the threaded plug closure at least 1 inch of the NPT having the thread cap closure with a minimum 1-inch NPT pipe plug. Minimum 1-inch auxiliary test valve within the thread closure may be substituted with 1-inch pipe plugs if the thread cap closure does not have the pipe plug integral auxiliary test valve, and the minimum 1-inch NPT pipe plug shall be installed in the outlet nozzle above the closure. See figure E17.7. Alright, 4. A two-piece coupling of the device using a clap duct must be included with the inline auxiliary valve with either the integral quick coupling device or located to the between the bottom of the primary bottom of the outlet valve with a quick coupling device. The quick coupling device closure dust cap outlet nozzle shall be fitted with a minimum of 1-inch NPT closures. If the outlet nozzle extends 6 inches no more from the shell of the tank, the V-shaped breakage groove shall be cut, not a cast, in the upper part of the outlet nozzle and the point of the immediately below the lowest part of the valve closest to the tank. In no case shall the nozzle wall thickness at the root of the V be more than 1/4 inch the outlet nozzle interior valve of the valve. Body of the exterior valve may be steam jacketed, in which case the breakage of the groove of the equivalent must be below the steam chamber above the bottom of the center seal construction. If the outlet nozzle is not a single piece, if the exterior walls are applied with the provision shall be made with the equivalent to the breakage groove. On the cars with the continuous center seal of the breakage groove, the equivalent must be no more than 15 inches below the tank shell. On the cars with continuous center seal of the breakage groove, the equivalent must be above the bottom of the center seal construction. The flange of the outlet nozzle valve body exterior valves must be in the thickness walls which prevent the distortion of the valve seat of the valve by any charge with the contour shell resulting from the expansion of landing. Other cases in which they ensure the accidental breakage of the outlet nozzle would occur with below the V groove is equivalent. The valve must have no wings with a steam projection, and below the V groove the equivalent. The valve seat must be readily accessible and removable for repairs, including grinding. The valve operating mechanism of the interior valves must be made with the compensation of the variation in vertical diameter of the tank produced by the expansion of the weight of the liquid components. Other causes may operate with the interior of the tank, but in the event the rod is carried through the dome and the tank shell, leakage must be prevented by packing the stuffing in the box or other suitable seals or caps. If indicated within section 179.201, the tank may be equipped with the bottom washout with the roof of the construction applied with the bottom washout shall be in accordance with the following requirements. Extreme projection of the bottom washout equipment may not be more than a cloud appendix E of the AAR specification of the tank car's bottom washout shall be cast out of the forged fabricated metal of the well of the tank that shall be good with weldable quality in conjunction with the metal of the tank. If the washout nozzle extends 6 inches and one or more than from the shell of the tank, the V-shaped groove breakage groove shall be cut and no cast in the upper part of the nozzle and point immediately below the lowest part of the inside closure seat plug. If in no case maybe the nozzle and thickness of the roof the V be more than 1/4 inch, to be aware the nozzle is not in single piece. The provision shall be made with the equivalent of the breakage groove. The nozzle must be made with the thickness to ensure the accidental breakage which will occur at and below the V groove with its equivalent on cars with a continuous center seal. The breakage groove and its equivalent may be not more than 15 inches below the outer shell on cars with a continuous center seal. The breakage groove or its equivalent must be above the bottom of the center seal construction. Closure plug and seat must be readily accessible and removable for repairs, including grinding. The closure of the washout nozzles must be equipped with 3/4 inch solid screw plugs, and the plugs must be attached by at least 1/4 inch chain joints between the closure and their seats may be gasketed with suitable material. Alright, 179-219 reinforcement when used with the imprudencies not otherwise specified. All attachments to the tank of the dome shall be applied with approved means with the rivets used that shall be cocked from the inside and outside. Reinforced pads must be used between the external brackets for the shell attachment welds exceeding 6 lineal inches and 1/4 inch fillet with equivalent weld bracket, the bracket leg. When reinforcement pads are used, they must not be less than 1/4 of an inch in the thickness and have each corner rounded to 1 inch minimum radius and be attached to the tank of the continuous fillet weld except with the venting provisions. The ultimate shear strength of the bracket is reinforced pad welded must not exceed 85% of the ultimate shear strength of the reinforcement pad of the tank or weld. 179-200-221 closure of openings. All plugs shall be solid with the MPT threads shall be the length width which the screw at least 6 threads inside the facing of the fitting of the tank of the plugs inserted with the outside of the tank heads shall have the letter S or at least 3/8 inch and size stamped with a steel stamp and cast to the outside of the surface indicating plug is solid. 179-22 22 testing tanks. Each tank shall be tested by completely filling the tank dome with a nozzle with water with the other liquid having the similar viscosity of the temperature which shall not exceed 100 degrees Fahrenheit. During the test, applying the pressure of the prescribed in statute 179-201. 1. The tank shall hold the prescribed pressure for at least 10 minutes without leakage of evidence of distress. All rivets, closures except the safety relief valves and safety vent valves shall be in place when the test is made. Insulated tanks shall be tested before the insulation is applied. Rubber lined tanks shall be tested before the rubber lining is applied. Caulking, welding joints to the stop the development during the foregoing test is prohibited. Repairs and welds joints shall be made with the prescribed in the AR specifications. Tanker cars, Appendix W, IBR 151 says the subchapter. 179-223 test the pressure relief valves. Each valve shall be tested with air or gas compliance with 179-15 before being put into service. 179-224 stamping. To certify the tank complies with all the specification requirements, each tank shall be plainly permanently stamped in the letters, figures, at least 3/8 inch high of the metal or the nearest center bolt of the outside heads. Specification: material, cladding, material, tanking, building, and initials, date of original test, car assembler, if ordered than tank builder. On Class .111 tanker cars, the last numeral of the specification number may be omitted from the stamping, for example, the .11A 100W. 179-201, individual specification requirements for the applicable non-pressure car tanks. 179-201, individual specification requirements. The yacht specification: insulation, bursting pressure, PSI, minimum thickness, minimum plate thickness, test pressure, bottom outlet, bottom washout references. Alright, 179-201-2, reserve. 179-201-3, line tanks. Rubber line tanks. Each of the tank for each of the compartment, therefore, must be lined with a resistant rubber or approved with rubber compound, vulcanized, bounded directly with the metal tank to provide non-porous laminated lining at least 32 inches thick, except for the overall rivet seam formed with the rivets. Attachment lining must be double thickness. The rubber lining must overlap at least 1.5 inches at least. If the edge must be straight and be level to the angle of approximately 45 degrees, but the edge of the lining must be sealed with 3-inch minimum strip of lining having 45-degree beveled angles. As an alternative method, the lining may be joined with a skiveted butt seam, but then capped with a separate strip of the lining 3 inches width wide, having 45-inch beveled edges. Additional rubber reinforcement pad at least 4.5 feet square and less, at least 1.5 inch thick, must be applied with the vulcanized lining with the bottom of the tank directly under the bamway. Opening the edges in rubber may be beveled to an angle of approximately 45 degrees. Opening of this pad and sump the permitted no lining must be under tension when applied, except due to the conformation of over rivet heads. The interior tank must be free of scale and oxidation, moisture, and all foreign material during the lining operation. Other approved lining materials may be provided with the material resistant to corrosion and solvent action of the landing of the liquid or gas. Phase are suitable surface temperatures before the tanker car is lined with the rubber or other rubber compound. The report certifying that the tank is equal to or the tank and its equipment have been brought into compliance with the specification .111A 6W 60W5 and 111A 100W5 must be furnished with the car owner party one who is applied with lining. A copy of the report is approved with the certifying the tank be lined with compliance with all the requirements for one of these above specifications must be furnished with the party lining the tank of the car owner. The reports of the latest lining application must be retained with the car owner until the next relining has been accomplished or recorded. All rivet heads inside the tank must be button head, similar shape with the uniform side, but the undersurface of the head must be driven tight against the plate, with all plates, casting, and the rivets heads inside of the tank must be caulked, and all projecting edges of the plates and the casting of the rivet heads inside of the tank must be rounded, free from fins and other irregular projections. Casting must be free from porosity. All surfaces and attachment fittings of their closure exposed to the landing of more covered than at least 1/8 of an inch in acid-resistant material. Attachments made of metal not affected, but the landing may need not to be covered with rubber or other acid-resistant materials. Hard rubber and polyvinyl chloride may be used with the pressure retaining parts and safety vents provided with the material resistant corrosive and or solvent acting landing on the liquid or gas phase is suitable for the surface temperature. Polychloride line tanker cars, each of the compartment thereof may be lined with elastometric polyvinyl chloride having minimum of the inning lining thickness of 32 inches. Polyurethane lined tank of the tanker cars tanks, each of the compartment there may be lined with elastometric polyurethane having minimum lining thickness of the 1/16 of an inch. 159-2014 material. All fittings and tubes and casting, all projection for the closure, except for the protecting of the housing, must also meet the requirements specified in ASTM A262, except when they were preparing the specimen testing the carbonized surface may be furnished with a grinding machine. 179.201.5 post-weld heat treatment and corrosion is resistant. Tank and attachments welded directly thereto must be post-welded to the heat of the treated under unit per proper temperature except the indicated below with tank attachments welded directly in there into the fabricated with the ASTM A240A, A240M, Type 430A, and Type 304, Type 316 materials must be post-welded. The treatment unit must be tested with to demonstrate that they possess the corrosion resistance specified in Statute 179-207D, footnote 2. Tanks and attachments welded directly thereto by the fabricated with the ASTM A240 and A240M, Type 304 and L, and Type 316L materials are not required for the post-welded heat treated. Tanks and attachments welded directly thereby fabricated from the ASTM A240A and A240AM and Type 304L and Type 316 materials must be tested and demonstrate that they possess the corrosion resistance specified in Statute 179-207D, footnote 2. 179.201 maintenance of manways and manway closures. The manway cover for spec .104W and 111A 60AL W1 111A 60 W1 L111A 100 AL W1 and 111 A 100 W1 111 AW 103 or 111A AW136 W6 must be designed to protect and impossible to remove the cover which interior of the tank is subject to the pressure. The manway covering of the spec of .111A 60WF and 111A AW5 must be made with a suitable material. The top and the bottom edge of the manway cover must be acid resistant. Material cover the prescribed 179-201.3 but through the bolt holes must be lined with acid resistant material at least 1/8 of an inch in thickness. The cover made with the metal but not attached, but the lighting needed not to be acid resistant metal material covered. The manway ring on the cover of the specification .103CW and 103DW and 103EW and 111 360W7 and 111A 100W6 must be made of metal and have the same inspection procedure specified in the AR specification Tanker Cars Appendix M M3.03 IBR 171.7 over the subchapter. 179.201.8 the sampling device and thermometer welling. Sample valve and thermometer are not specification requirements when they must be made with approved design made with the metal, but the subject to the rapid deterioration of landing must withstand a pressure of 100 psi gauge without leakage of the interior pipe. With the sample valve must be equipped with excessive flow valves of an approved design. Interior pipe. The thermometer must be made closed and by an approved valve attached for the closing fitting when placed in the tank of the closed by the screw plug. The other approved arrangement that the permanent testing of the thermometer will well for the leaks without complete removal of the closure must be reserved. Alright, 179.201 gauge. Alright. The gauging device is approved with the design applied with the permitting determining the liquid level of the landing alloy. Gauge device must be made with materials not subject to rapid deterioration by landing. When interior pipe of the gauging device provided for the means of the passage for the landing, the interior or the exterior of the tank, and it must be equipped with an excessive flow valve with approved design. If the opening of the passage of landing through the gauge device is not more than 0.06 of an inch diameter and an excessive flow valve is not required, the gauging device must be approved added with the protective housing. Alright, 171.201 water capacity marking. Water capacity tank of the pounds and stenciled and plainly with the permanently in letters figures and at least 3/8 of an inch high on the metal with the tank immediately below the stamp mark specified in 179-224A. The mark shall be extensible on the jacket immediately below the dome platform, directly behind, within 3 feet of the right or left side of the ladder, or ladders if there's a ladder on each side of the tank. In the letters, figures at 1 1/2 inches high as follows: water capacity and then pounds. 179.201.11 insulation. 201.11 insulation. Insulation shall be sufficient with a thickness of thermal conductance at 60 degrees Fahrenheit is not more than 75 thousandths of an inch of BTUs per hour per square feet and per degree Fahrenheit. Temperature differential be reserved. Alright, 179.202 and through 179.202.22 is reserved. 179.220 general specification appliance with a non-pressure tanker car tanks consisting inner containers supported with an outer shell class of .111 11.5. 179-220.1. The tank built under the specification must be meet with requirements of 179-220 and 179-221. 179-223. Type. The tank built under the specification must consist of the inner container with the support system of the inner container with the outer shell. The inner container must be fusion welded tank in circular cross section with the form heads with design convex outward mount. The stab of the manway top tank is prescribed herein, and the inner container is divided into compartments. Each compartment must be considered a separate container. The outer shell must be in fusion welded from the form heads with the sign convex outward. 179-220. 4. Insulation. The annual space between the inner container and the outer space shell must contain an improved insulation material. 179-226. Thickness. The wall thickness for the forming of the inner container shell with a 2:1 unlimited ellipsoid head must not be less than specified in 179-221-1, not less than calculated by the following formula. T is equal to PD over 2 SE. Inside diameter is in inches. DE is 9/10 of a welded joint efficiency except for the 1.0 over the welded seam heads. P is minimum required bursting pressure in PSI gauge. S is the minimum tensile strength of the plate material in PSI prescribed in the AR specification for anchor or as Appendix M, Table M1. T is the minimum thickness of the plate after forming the wall thickness after forming the inner container heads of the flange dimension must not be less than specified in 179-221-1 or not less than the calculated formula is in T equals 5 PL over 6 SE. Once again, E is 9/10 of the welded joint efficiency except for 1.0 for the seamless heads. L means the main inside radius for the head of the dish measured for the concave side of the inches. P measured for the bursting pressure in PSI gauge. S means minimum tensile strength of the plate materials in PSI as prescribed in the AR specification for the tanker cars Appendix M, Table M1. And T minimum thickness for the plate in inches after forming. The wall thickness for the after forming the cylindrical section head of the outer shell must not be less than 7/16 of an inch and 179-229 for the plate thickness requirements of the inner container divided into compartments. 179-227. The plate material used for the fabricate the inner container for the nozzles must meet with one of the following specifications, but they indicate the minimum tensile strength, elongation, of welded condition. B. The carbon steel minimum maximum allowable carbon content must not be more than 3/3100ths of an individual specification allowing carbon content greater than the amount the greater the plates of it may be otherwise approved materials. Specification minimum tensile strength PSI welded condition minimum elongation 2 inches in percent welded metal longitudinal. Alright, the aluminum alloy aluminum plate must be suitable for the welding and comply with one of the following specifications of the IBAR 171.7 for the subchapter. Alloy specification minimum tensile strength PSI welded condition, maximum minimum elongation of 2 inches percent welded material longitudinal. High aluminum steel plate must comply with one of the following subspecifications IBRC 171.7 in the subchapter. Specification minimum tensile strength PSI welded condition PSI minimum elongation 2 inch percent welded longitudinal. E. Magnesium molybdenum steel. Magnesium molybdenum steel must be suitable for the fusion welding. Must comply with the following specification IBRC 171.7 of the subchapter. Specification minimum special strength PSI condition. Minimum elongation 2 inches percent welded material longitudinal. Hard plate materials used with the fabricate outer shelf of the head must those be listed within paragraph B, C, D, and E of this section. Maximum allowable carbon content must be within 3/100% of the individual specification allowed with the carbon content greater than the amount of the plate may be collided with the other approved material. All approvals for the inner container with the contact with the landing must be approved with the material compatible with the plate material with the inner container with the approved must not be less than subject to the rapid deterioration. Landing must be coated with line suitable corrosion resistant material. C Appendix A are specifications of the tanker cars approved with the M4.05 for approved material specifications for casting and fittings. 179-228. The tanker head. Tanker head with the inner container with the compartment's outer shell must be improved with the contour must be a flange dish and ellipsoid for the pressure for the concave side. Flange dish head must have the main side inside radius but not exceeding 10 feet with inside knuckle radius must not be less than 3 3/4 inch for steel alloy steel tanks not less than 5 inches. For aluminum tanks and ellipsoids, heads must be an ellipsoid with the revolution, which major axis must be equal to the diameter of the shell, and minor axis must be even one half the major axis. 179-229 compartment tanks. The inner container may be divided with the compartments inserted with the interior heads and by fabricating each of the compartment by the separate container with the joining of the cylinder by fabricating with each of the compartment is separate with the tank with the joined cylinder. Each of the compartment must be capable of withstanding without evidence for the yielding of the leakage that required for the test or pressure applied. And each of the compartments separately, each with any combination for the compartments B. And the inner container is divided into compartments, fabricating each of the compartment as a separate container with the joining of the cylinder. The cylinder must have the plate thickness not less than one required for the inner container. Shell must be applied with the outside surface with the straight flange portion of the container. The cylinder must fit with the straight plate and is tight with a distance at least 2 times the plate thickness of 1 inch. Whichever is greater, it must be joined with the straight flange by full fill at weld distant. Filling weld seam with the container head seam must not be less than 1.5 inches with 3 times the plate thickness, whichever is greater. 179-220 10. Welding. All joints must be fusion welded in compliance with the AR specification tanker cars appendix with WIBRC, the 171.7 for the subchapter welding procedure. Welders fabricating special approved radioscopy of the outer shell is not specification requirement. Welding is not permitted on or to inductile iron, malleable iron fittings. 179-220-11. Post-weld heat and treatment. Post-weld heat treatment of the inner container is not specification requirement. Post-weld heat treatment of the cylindrical portion of the outer shell to which the anchorage of the draft seals are attached must comply with the AR specification of the tanker car appendix W. When the cold formed heads are used for the outer shell, they must meet the high heated treat before welding the shell, as post-weld heat is not practical to do the assembled procedures. 179-220-13 inner container manway nozzle. Inner container manway nozzle must be approved of design and access open in the at least 18 inches of the inside diameter, at least 14 inches by 18 inches above a round or oval manway. Oil covers must be approved by the type of the design, must be provided with a secure closure of the manway, must make it impossible to remove the cover while the tank is interior but under the pressure. All joints made with the manway covers and the seats must be made with the tight against the leakage vapor, and liquid may be usable suitable gaskets. Manway covers must be cast in the fabricated metal complying with the subsection 179-227G. With the section seal must be provided between the inner container manway nozzle and the opening of the outer shell. 179-220-14. Opening of the inner container with the outer shell should be reinforced with compliance to AR specification tanker cards appendix E, IBRC 171.7 for the subchapter. In determining the required reinforcement area of the opening for the outer shell, T shall be 1/4 of an inch. 179-220-15 support system in the inner container. The inner container must be supported with the outer shell with the support system with adequate strength with the conductivity operating with the temperature to support the interior of the container with a filled with liquid landing with any level. The support system must be designed to support without yielding and impact loads procedures, producing accelerations of the following magnitudes and directions for the inner container is loaded so that the car is at a rail load limit, and the car is equipped with the conventional AAR specification M901 draft gear, longitudinal 7G, transverse 3G, and vertical 3G. The longitudinal acceleration may reduce to 3G with the cushioning device with the approved design has been tested to demonstrate the ability to limit forces of 400,000 pounds maximum, 10 miles an hour per hour. Impact used between the coupler and tank structure. The support system must be approved. The design inner container must have the thermal isolated from the outer shell with the best practice extent. With the inner container with the outer shell must be permanently bounded to each of their electrically, either a supported system using piping or separate electrical connection. Approved design. 179-220-16. Extension capacity must be provided within the shell container as prescribed in Statute 179-221-1. 179-220-17. Gauging device and top loading and unloaded devices, venting in the air inlet of the devices. When installed, each of the devices must be approved of design with the preventing interchange with any of the fixture. It must go tightly closed. Each for the unloading pipe must be securely anchored within your container. Each inner container compartment, therefore, may be equipped with one separate air connection when the character for the commodity for each for the car authorized reduce. Require these devices to be equipped with the valve fittings to do permanent the loading unloading of the contents of the device. Include the valve shell provided with protecting housing except for the plug and ball pawl type. The operating handle removed from the used provisions must be made with the closing pipe and the connections for the valve. The inner container may be equipped with a vacuum relief valve with approved design. Protective housing is not required. For gauging devices required 179.221.1. The outer scale gauge visible with the manway opening must be provided with the loading devices applied with the permanent tank loading into the coverage. Loading the telltale pipe may be provided with the telltale pipe must be capable of determining that the required outage is provided with the pipe must be equipped with a 1/4 inch maximum. The MPT covered control threads must be outside the tank, enclosed with the protected housing, and the other approved empty devices may be placed for the outage scale telltale pipe. The bottom of the tank shell may be equipped with a sump with a siphon bowl with welded pressed into the shell with the sump with the siphon bowl supplied with not limited to size but must be made with a casting forged fabricated metal. Each sump with the siphon below must be good welded quality in conjunction with the metal with the tanker shell with the sump with the siphon bowl is pressed into the bottom of the tank. The wall thickness for the press section not less than but specified for the shell with the section of the circular cross section tank with a sump or siphon bowl is attached if needed not to comply with the outage roundness and the requirements specified in Appendix WW14006 of the air specification of the tanker cars. Any portion from the sump of the siphon bowl is not forming the part of the cylindrical revolution now having the walls with such thickness must be so reinforced that the stress in the walls caused by the given internal pressure are not greater than the circumferential stress which may be exist under the same internal pressure in the wall of the tank and circular cross section designed in accordance with the statute 179.226a, 179.229. In no case there shall be the wall thickness less than the specified thickness specified in 179.221.1. Protective housing when required must have the improved material must have covering wire cover hide walls not less than 119 thousandths of an inch thickness. 179.220.18 bottom outlets. The inner container may be equipped with the bottom outlet. Bottom outlet improved the design and opening provided with the outer shell with the access and applied with the bottom outlet must comply with the following requirements. Alright, the extreme projection of the bottom outlet equipment may not be more than allowed with the Appendix E of the AAR specification with the tanker cars IBR 171.7 of the subchapter. All bottom outlet reducers for the closure of the attachment shall be secured with to the car at least 1/3 of an inch of the chain equivalent except with the bottom outlet closure plugs may be attached by a 1/4 inch chain. Bottom outlet closure in combination with the cap and valve type of the pipe connection or the valve shall be closed with the plug. Cap of the bottom outlet equipment shall be included but only if the valve reducer closure with the necessary for the attachment under loading fixtures. The permanent attachment of supplementary exterior fittings shall be approved by the AR Committee of the tanker cars. 2. Each bottom outlet must be provided with the liquid tight tank closure in the lower end of the valve. The operating mechanism must be applied with the outside of the bottom of the inner container with the valve. Operating mechanism must be provided with a suitable locking arrangement to ensure positive closure during transportation. 4. The valve outlet and nozzle valve body must be cast or fabricated forged metal with the welded inner container, but they must be with good weldable quality. In conjunction with the metal of the tank, they provided with the attachment of the unloading the connection bottom of the main portion outlet nozzle valve body. Some fixed with attachment thereto must be provided with the therm red cap closure arrangement, bolted flange weight closure arrangement having the minimum 1 inch thread to pallet pipe plug. 6. If an outlet nozzle of the closure extends below the bottom of the outer shell, the V-shaped breakage shell, groove shell, be cut. No casting in the upper part of the outlet nozzle for the point of the immediately below the lowest part of the valve close to the tank. In no case may the nozzle wall thickness at the root of the V be more than 1/4 inch for the outlet nozzle. The valve body may be subject to this, but may be steam jacketed. In which case, the breakage groove or its equivalent must be below the steam chamber above the bottom of the center seal of the construction. If the outlet nozzle is not a single piece, if the exterior valves are equipped with provision shall be made with the equivalent of the breakage groove on the cars without continuous center seal of the breakage groove, or its equivalent may not be more than 15 inches below the outer shell on cars with the continuous center seal of the breakage groove. Equivalent must be above the bottom of the center seal construction. 7. The valve body must be thickness with the well preventing distortion of the valve cell, seat involved with any charge of the core and contour shell resulting from the expansion and landing, and in any other case which ensure the accidental breakage of the outlet nozzle will occur with below the V groove or its equivalent. Either valve must have no wings with the seam projection below the V groove with its equivalent valve seat must be readily accessible, removable for repairs including grinding. Inner container may be equipped with the bottom washout with approved design. If applied, bottom washout must be complied with the following requirements. Extreme projection of the bottom washout equipment may not be more than allowed in Appendix E of the AR specification of the tanker cars. 2. Bottom washout must be cast of forged or fabricated metal. It shall be welded with an inner container with a good weldable quality in conjunction with the metal of the tank. The washout nozzle extends below the bottom of the outer shell. V-shaped breakage groove shall be cut with no cast for the upper part with the nozzle and point immediately below the lowest part of the inside closure. Seat with the plug. In no case made the valve nozzle wall thickness at the root of the V be more than 1/4 inch when the nozzle is in single not a single piece. The provision shall be made with the equivalent. The breakage groove of the nozzle must be thickness to ensure the accidental breakage will occur below the V groove with equivalent on the cars without continuous center sill. Breakage groove with its equivalent be not more than 15 inches below the outer shell on the car's continuous center sill of the breakage groove. Or its equivalent must be above the bottom of the center sill construction. The closure plug and the seat plug must be readily accessible, removable repairs. Closure and washout nozzle must be equipped with a 3/4 inch solid screw plug. Plugs must be attached by at least a 1/4 inch chain. Joints made between closure and their seats must be casketed with suitable material. 179, 220, 220 reinforcement used with reprintancies no otherwise specified. All attachments to inner container and outer shells must be applied with approved means. 179, 220, 22 closure openings. All plugs must be solid with the MPT threads must be length with which with a screw with these 6 threads inside the facing fitting of the tank plugs when inserted with the outside of the outer shell tanks must have the letter S at least 3/8 inch in the side of the stamped and steel tank cast on outside surface indicating the plug is solid. Openings in the outer shells during the construction of the insulation must be closed with the approved manner. 179, 220, 23 the test of the tanks. Each inner container compartment must be tested hydrostatically to the pressure specified in 179, 221, 1 with the temperature pressurizing measure medium measure not exceeding 100 degrees Fahrenheit. During the test, the container must hold the prescribed pressure for at least 10 minutes without leakage, and evidence of a distress safety relief device must be placed with the test made, but the inner container must be pressure tested with the insulation within the outer shell. The items which, because of the assembly sequence, must be welded in the inner container with the after its insulation without outer shell must have the attachment well thoroughly inspected with the non-destructive dye penetration method of its equivalent. Pressure testing outer shell not equivalent specification requirements. 179, 220 from 24 testing pressure relief. Each safety relief valve must be tested by air or gas compliance with the 179-15 before getting cut out and put into service. 179 through 25 stamping. The certified the tank complied with all the specification requirements. Each of the outer shell must stamp plainly, permanently stamped the letters figuring at least 3/8 inch high, and in that metal near the center of the bolt, the outside heads as follows. Examples of requirements, specifications, inner container, outer shell, car assembler. 179, 220, 26. The outer shell with the jacket of the outer shell, the insulated, must be sensible in compliance with the air specification of the tanker car's appendix C, IBRC 177. 171.7 for this subchapter. Stencils must be applied with the bolt side of the outer shell with the jacket of the center line with the figure at least 1/2 inch for the high with indicated the safe upper temperature limit applicable for the inner tank insulation of the support division. 179, 221 individual specification requirements applicable to tanker cars consisting of an inner container supported with an outer shell. 179, 221, 1 individual specification requirements in addition with the 179, 220 with the individual specification requirements are as follows. Dot specification insulation, bursting pressure, and PSI, minimum plate thickness, test pressure, PSI gauge, bottom outlet, bottom washout, and reference number. Subpart E, specifications for multiple unit tanker cars, classes .106A and 110A AW.